let's go to parents now. So if I'm mom or dad, because lots of people do this. So I'm gonna put aside like you're taking video for the memories or to send to someone, or like you need to take clips to send to college or your advisors or whatever. So all that is fine. So I'm putting that aside. Strictly from like the hockey improvement standpoint, if I'm mom or dad and I'm gonna take videos for the purposes of it being corrective, how would you recommend one goes about doing that? And maybe some of like the pros, cons, good ways, bad ways that from the parent perspective. And we'll try to keep it separate from the players because we want to do the players separately afterwards. So what do you think from the parent side?
I think it gets very dicey when parents do it.
Mm.
Okay, this is just like, again, I want to be very clear on this. This is not to beat parents up for doing it, because maybe your intentions are really, really good. And
Even if they are.
yeah, even if they are, like, so I'll give you a very good example where I think it just gets dicey. So, and here's the other thing. Most, I know, AAA teams either have a designated person to take video. Some coaches don't want that shared with the team. I don't know why. A lot of them will be put on YouTube, a lot of the games. So there's usually an opportunity to watch it. And then if you want to video the game, fine. That's fine. Like, whatever. So, but I really believe that it gets very, very dicey when parents want to go over games with their kids. So I would consider myself very qualified to do it with my kid. Very. I could break the game down what they're doing, he's doing, inside out. But I know for a fact my son did not want to sit there at home and go through the game and his good and his bad. On my dime, like on my time. It would have not gone well if I said, okay, Chooch, let's 6:30 after dinner, we're gonna watch a game against London, like when he was in youth hockey. There would have been a ton of resistance to that, and for good reason. And I had something to offer, so I couldn't imagine. Just very sincere here, I couldn't imagine what it would be like for a kid who is at whatever age to have to go through the game with their dad that maybe played at a high level. I don't care. Or didn't play at all, or anything in between. Because number one is, I don't even know if, do you know if your kid even wants to watch the game? Might not even care. And I just think it's one of those moments. It's like your intentions could be very good, but that goes back to who's the motivated person in this relationship? Is it the player or is it the parent? That's the number one question. I know for me, so my kid knew where to find the games. Like, not every game. There's some games that were on YouTube. It was typically against Elgin, Middlesex, a couple of teams, and he would put them on YouTube. And I'd be there. Like, I'd walk in and like, oh, can I watch it with you? Yeah. So we'd watch. And what do you think a 14, 13, 12-year-old kid wants to see when they watch video?
His goals.
Wants to see his goals.
Yeah.
Or quietly wants to see how good he is.
Yeah.
That's what they want to see. So which I didn't do, if he made a mistake or didn't do something that was good, I didn't have to say a thing. He would. Or he would say nothing. Because it'd be like, right? Oh, I don't like that. Or he would make an excuse in front of me. And I would just say, oh, whatever, it's a long game. Or what would you do different if you had to do it again? Or I'd ask him a question and he would kind of tell me. Or I would say, oh, what was going through your head there? Did you see something else? But I wasn't sitting there coaching him. I just enjoy watching the game, or I wouldn't really watch because 12 years old. But he would be like, hey, Dad, check out this goal. Check out this hit. Check out this. Oh, look at this toe drag I did. Like, stuff like that. That's all they want to see.
Right.
I don't believe there's too many kids that want to sit there eating a bowl of chips or kale salad or whatever. Going over the game with Dad. I don't believe that. Right. I think it's so few and far between.
Okay. So two questions. So one, if you're a dad, for example, where it's like, okay, I really think I have something to offer, number one. Number two, I think I have a really good relationship with my kid where we can do this the proper way. Number two. um, I guess I'll answer my own question. That situation, I think there might be something there where it's like, okay, like you guys have a really good setup where that's something that's good for you guys and that could work, like fine. But I find that even as someone who knows and has something to offer, like you, for example, it's like, what if you're like saying something different than the coach,
That's what I
right?
got in my
It's like,
notes.
yeah, it's like, what if you the next piece of advice you give is exactly opposite to what the coach was asking because you wouldn't know, even if you
Dude,
know hockey,
dude,
right?
I said this on a podcast before. I said it to you. There's a game last year. Last year, my son's playing the OHL. Well, I wasn't able to go to the game. My wife was there. My brother was there, um, and my kid was having
I
like,
remember. I
yeah,
remember.
he was having
Yeah.
a good, just playing good, steady, physical, like, just like that's the player that he's supposed to be. And on this game, I was watching, and he was playing very good, but he was not physical as he usually is. So my brother texts me and texts like this. My brother texts me and goes, "Charlie injured or something?" I said, "No, no, it's he did say he's nagging this, but I said he didn't say much about it." My wife goes, "He's not hitting as hard and as much as often as he typically does." So I'm like, and so I'm sitting here as a dad, 3 hours away, going, son.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was saying. It's like, you just, do you want to this up on
Yeah.
purpose?
Right.
Like, you know what you got to do. You've got 4 things that you need to do in a game. Why aren't you doing it? Like, I'm saying it to myself and
Yeah.
to you. I'm like, I had a bit of,
I remember the game. I
yeah, I
remember
was
it.
like sitting there, like, do you want to take yourself down a notch and get to the fourth line? Is that what you're trying to do? But he was on the ice a lot. So I'm like, whatever. And then he played a great game. He ended up scoring and blah, blah, blah. And then, because my wife goes, "How do you think he played?" I said, "I thought he played well, but just not as physical as typical." So he comes out after the game, sees mom, biggest smile ever, and she's like, "Oh, good game." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'm so happy." He goes, "Coach is so happy with me because we had a job to shut a team down." They said, "Don't take it easy on people. We don't want you out of the play." So that's to your point. Parents are watching a different game than what the coach might be asking from them. So if I would have came out there and had sourpuss face, well, I wasn't there, so I couldn't. But if I'm sitting there going, as a like, I guess a lot of parents would, you didn't hit. That's why I don't coach my kid. You weren't hitting, you weren't physical. Yeah, you played fine, but it's not the engagement that you typically have to get yourself.
Yeah. You need
You
to
want
be
to be a
better.
pro, Charlie?
Yeah.
You want to be a pro? Well, you didn't do pro shit.
Yeah.
And then, oh, well, my coach said don't. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Right. Right.
who's the
Exactly.
idiot?
So that's exactly
Yeah,
my point. So even if you know the game, even if
yeah,
you can help,
yeah.
right? So even if you have that, because that's what a lot of people say is like, yeah, my kid wants to do it or whatever, and like, so that's another one too. Like my kid asks me to do it, right? So it's like, okay, first of all, is the kid actually asking, or are you doing that weird thing where you like make the kid feel like they have to do it, and like so they ask you because if they don't ask you, then you're gonna be like, oh, don't you want to do video, like this kind of thing. So first of all, is it that situation, or is the kid asking you to do video? And then if the kid is asking you to do video, you have to make sure you approach that with a lot of humility, because if you said, well, puck's here, you should be going here, it's like maybe you're right, but maybe you're also not right if the coach is saying something different, right? Obviously, there's a lot more leeway the younger the kids are, where advice can be not as harmful. But exactly to your point, if you come in, guns blazing, and you're just like, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, it's like, yeah, but my coach said this other thing, or we play this system, and like your kid might not even be able to articulate it, right? It's like in your D zone, son, you have to go engage that guy, and then the coach said, well, yeah, but the wingers are supposed to go low and not the defensemen or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, maybe the kid doesn't even say that. And he's just like thinking, well, I thought I was supposed to be in front of the net. Now my dad's saying I have to go to the corner. It's like, and maybe he can't even comprehend like how to communicate that message to dad who's trying to teach him on video, right? Or mom. So I think that's important. Even if even if the kid's asking, it's like you just have to be careful about the advice you give because you don't know if it's good or bad, particularly if you haven't played hockey or you don't know how the game works. Because I can't tell you how many conversations I have with parents where they're telling me what they told their kid, and I'm just like, that's not correct, right? So, and it's unfortunate because the kids they're helpless, right? There's nothing that they can do to get out of that
Well,
situation, right?
the other thing I would say would be like, all the teams that my sons have played for, most parents didn't play, or they played, but they didn't play at the level that their kids are at. Being honest, and there's several coaches. Like we've had, my son had several coaches who their kids have, or the coaches have never played at the level that they're coaching. So, anyways, so if you're gonna teach something, you probably should actually understand it. And so and the kids aren't stupid. If you're sitting there going over video with your kid, and you played on the green jersey team, and you guys didn't even have matching socks, and he saw pictures of you playing hockey, and your knob was the size of my head on your stick, and it was 4 inches too tall. Like it was very obvious that you weren't a very good hockey player. Or if you ever skated with your kid, and the kid looks at you like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't very good," then he's probably not listening to what you have to say, you know. And it's just like, I think the thing is when kids do that, like anytime my kid would throw on his hockey games, he would either say, "Hey, Dad, check this out," or if I happen to be in the same room watching it with him, what he loved to hear was, "Oh, that was a good job. That was nice." They're not there for a beatdown. They're not there for that. That's my thing. And then the last thing I would say, honestly, is a lot of parents will judge, and I was probably guilty of this too. Like I'm not saying in the video aspect, but I'm guilty. I would be guilty of this. We have a perspective of what we want from our kids, meaning dedicated, right? So a lot of parents would say, "Did you shoot your pucks today?" And the kid would be like, "Yes or no." Okay. How many? Well, you need to shoot 500 a day. Some parents don't have an idea how long it takes or what 500 pucks is to shoot. What's that like, right? So you're pushing it on them, pushing on them, pushing on them. Because they didn't shoot, there's some kids that, another example would be when Charlie started working out. Okay. We had the gym. It was especially in COVID. That's when he really started. When COVID started, we'd come to this gym. He worked out with dad because there's really no one else to work out with. So he was getting into it, but it was like a little reluctant, but like he liked it. But then Zach Cassian called me, said, "Can I come in?" Yes. So Zach started coming in, and Charlie worked out with Zach, and then he fell in love with it. But I couldn't yell at him for being a 13 or 14, no, 14-year-old kid. Can't be upset with him because he's not totally dedicated to being a hockey player. Do you know what I mean? Like, here's your advantage. Like, think about this. This is a conversation I could have had with him. Well, this is a conversation I did have with him because I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. COVID, no one's allowed to go anywhere. So I have a gym. My son's coming to the gym. I'm going to keep him sane and me sane. Take advantage of life. So, hey, Charlie, for that, we thought it was only going to be a month or 2 months of no activity. So I said, "Hey, Charlie, in these next 2 months, let's get to the gym. You can get in better shape." I was just doing a positive spin and it was healthy. Get in the gym. We'll get you a little stronger. We'll get you ready. When you're ready to play again, you'll be in really good shape. Okay, Dad, that'd be great. So it was fine the first few times. And then after a week or two, it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he would do it well and all that stuff. But it's a dad thing, man. It was the best thing for him. And then when Zach came in, it was all of a sudden I get to work with an NHL hockey player. And then the light went off. But I can't get upset with him for being 14 and not being totally dedicated to hockey. He said he was. He thought he was. He loved it, but he didn't eat, sleep, everything hockey the way my perspective, my knowledge is of what it would actually take. So a lot of times, like if your kid doesn't want to go over video with you, Dad, or do all these other things, it's not because they're not into it. It's maybe they're not mature enough. Maybe it's not that the time isn't right. Maybe you're an idiot. Maybe you're not the person for them. Like it'll happen when it needs to happen. And then the last thing